War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. It's always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you hanging out with us and just spend a little bit of time with us to talk about what we love about Auburn. And specifically today on this live stream, we'll be mainly discussing Auburn versus Alabama State. The next game in the 2021 season, a preview of it. Probably won't be a lot to discuss. Excuse me. But we'll see. Maybe there's some things that we can speculate on and just have some fun predicting and prognosticating. But I would imagine this preview won't take us too long. So this might even be a little bit shorter of a live stream too. But regardless of how long it takes us, we're glad that you are here. And we are glad that you are hanging out with us tonight. Justin, I see you're already asking about call-ins. I'll address that in just a minute. But thanks for asking that. We'll talk about that in just a second. As you're coming into the live stream, please do a couple things for us. You know the drill for a lot of you that have been here. Post where you're watching from, city, state, international, with a War Eagle. Let me know who's here. Smash that like button, and then we'll talk about ways that you can help support the content that we do here on this channel. We got a couple of people that became channel members recently. If I see them, I'll give them a shout outs. So, and a new Booster Club member or two as well. So we'll talk about them as they pop into the chat win tonight, if they're here live, at least when I see them. Anyway, so like I said, we're going to mainly just stay on the topic of Alabama State versus Auburn, even though that may not take us all that long tonight. But I want to kind of make sure we give this one its due diligence and maybe speculate on it just a little bit here. We got a lot of familiar faces already popped in. I said hello to Justin, John Stokes, who is the channel member. Thanks for being here. And a Booster Club member. Speaking of Booster Club members, Greg Duckworth in the house. Greg, good to see you. Thanks again. Got your message, Greg. I'll send you a little text back about that and just what you messaged me about soon as I can get to it. Justin is calling in from Douglas, Alabama. And yes, we are ready for them to probably, most likely, 99% sure, get a win against the Alabama State Hornets. I don't know that there's any hope for Alabama State. Can anybody give me any semblance of a shred of life that the Hornets could have coming into Jordan-Hare to get a win? I think your best case would be Jacksonville State a couple years ago. Different team for both different programs. And that Jacksonville State team, they had some pretty good talent on that roster that year, if I recall. A lot of former SEC talent, a lot of former Auburn talent too, that all compiled together at once. That's honestly your best case scenario for saying a team like an Alabama State, and Jacksonville State's not even the same comparison, honestly, to come in and beat an Auburn team. We got a lot of zero chance, zero hope. I agree. I don't foresee it in the cards for the Alabama State Hornets. So this is not a live stream discussion of will they win in terms of Auburn. It's a live stream discussion of how they win. I know what you're all itching to do. Some of you already do it. Let's go ahead and post a prediction for a score right off the bat right here. Some of you are already doing it. What are you saying? I think some of you are going to the traditional history of this. For those of you that don't know, Alabama State and Auburn have played one other time, 2018. They won 63 to 9, I think is what it was. Yes. So with Auburn scoring 60 against Akron, Coach Harsin seems to want to make a statement in terms of being relentless in scoring. I think you can expect probably offensive scores provided the players produce. You know, sometimes I think people forget that. Sorry, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just half a second here. Sometimes people get on their soapbox about being relentless and not letting off horses, but you can set the players up all you want to score that amount. They have to do it. So, you know, there's a little bit of, obviously it all falls back on the head coach. The players have to do it as well. So yes, what do you say for the overall score for this? What do you think is going to happen here? 67 to 3, probably not unlikely. You know, normally if someone drops predictions like that, I'm like, That's ridiculous. There's no way. But then this is Auburn versus Alabama State, so I'm willing to entertain ones like that. They win their game. Yes, they did win their game last week against Miles College in overtime, 14-13. Now, it's their level of competition. I don't know how good Miles College actually is. So I don't know whether to take that's a solid win or if that's kind of a shouldn't have happened type of win. I think, I don't know how it is in, I think they're Division II, right? Is it Division II? I can't remember. I think at that type of level, I don't know if you schedule like most of the other programs do early on your non-conference games being some cupcakes. So I would tend to think that their first game would have been a little bit easier. So that's a little bit disconcerting for them. However, I did read up on them a little bit, and a lot of people have already posted some great commentary on things to watch in this game that I think will be interesting factors in all of this thing. But overall, there's not really a chance for them. Alabama State's worse than Akron. If we beat Akron by 50, it's going to be rough for Alabama State. Is there a point where Coach Harsin is almost too relentless for them? I think personally, Coach Harsin made his point, and it was clearly one that he intentionally made last week with Akron. I don't know that you're going to get the same thing this week. And hear me out when I say this. I don't necessarily mean that he's not going to score 60, but I think we're going to get up so quick on them that he's going to have to turn it down just so that it doesn't get too bad. Like if he goes at the rate he probably can go with this team based on how they produced last week, 70 is not a far-fetched idea. 52-0. I don't know, Greg. I didn't see enough out of the number 2s and 3s last week against Akron, who clearly wasn't that great, to make me think that they can withstand an attack to some degree from other teams. I'm anticipating them scoring some point because there's always going to be that errant kickoff return, punt return. Probably not a punt return because we probably won't do much punting. Poor Oscar Chapman's not getting a lot of work early on. But, there's going to be that. There's going to be maybe a weird fumble, heaven forbid, a weird interception, or just they break one loose. It happens. Or it just happens in scrub time. It could happen any different way. I do think that they'll score. It's very hard these days to put a goose egg on someone. I don't know that we can do that based on what I saw last week. Justin, did you miss the score? It was 60-10. According to Clint Richardson, the Auburn Uniform Database, that score has never happened before. Interesting fact. I'd love to see some defensive points, safety. Well, we got a safety last week. Scoop and score. Pick 6 would be great. Akron didn't even have time to throw it down the field, much less, so there weren't many opportunities for picks. Yeah, I think we're all, itching to see a interception. I think that'd make us all really happy to see them produce in that way. I think the likelihood's much higher here because from what I understand, they have a mobile quarterback, and he's probably going to get out on the run. And the way he was described is he likes to stretch plays with his legs. Might get out there or close to the flats and try to run out something, then throw it away at the last second or try to zip it into somebody on the sideline. And then all of a sudden there's an interception. That's how I could see that happening, but we'll see. Got a little sinus drainage tonight. That's why I keep drinking, trying to keep my throat cleared for you guys tonight. I do want to address Justin asked earlier. We're not going to do phone calls tonight for a couple different reasons, but mainly is because my hardware setup is acting a fool and I can't hear the audio coming out of this for some reason. It's got to figure all that out. So no call-ins tonight. But if you ever see me have the headphones on, that means call-ins are fair game. Coach Harsin said, Javarius Johnson got hurt last week. Did you see him go down? Because I missed it. Hope it's not serious. He's a big key wide receiver. I missed that too. I'm sure it probably happened in one of those weird circumstances where he probably wasn't even involved in the play or we would have noticed it. And it may be something that happened, didn't seem so bad at the time, and then as he kind of started continuing on with it, was a little bit worse than he thought about. But we'll see. Listen, the wide receiver core is so deep and so talented across the board. Now, there's varying levels. I wouldn't worry so much that he's gone, if that's the case, especially this week. Does it suck to have, I think he's one of the ones that's had some of these injury issues for that happen again? Yes. But I'm not too worried about that. You're going to have these things happen. Basically, now every game is how few injuries can you get out of the game with. It's football. It's what happens. Let's see. If we had kept our first team out there against Akron, we probably would have won like 74. Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. And of course, the quote that's going all the way around. Yeah, I mean, listen, the quote that, or the tweet that just keeps on giving, and it's pretty comical how that just thing has life and is continuing on. Andre says being healthy is the only thing that matters. I agree, but don't think for a second that Auburn doesn't get out of this game without some type of injury. To who and to what importance? Not that any injury is not important, but heaven forbid a starter got hurt in this game. There are, and I think this brings up a great point of conversation, Andre. By the way, he asked how we're thinking about Penn State. I maybe can talk about that at the end, but we're mainly keeping on Alabama State right now. It's the preview show for this, but we'll maybe address that towards the end there. We'll do a preview show for that next week. There's a lot of conversation happening on social media whether Tank Bigsby should play at all. And I don't like that. You're a player on this team. You need to play. Now, how often and how much frequently, what type of situations we put you in, that's a different story. I don't want Tank to play more than the first quarter, but I think he still should play. He's the starter. He's a leader there for a reason. He needs to play. I get the argument that you risk running him out there, but that's what happens. That's what happens in practice every week. And we want them to hit in practice, right? So the guy should play. I don't like those type of conversations. War Eagle to you, Rob. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I agree. That's stupid. One drive after the half. So you want him to play the whole half? I'm fine with him being pulled after the first quarter. I think that's perfectly acceptable. I think he goes out there, gets a couple yards, maybe a touchdown, gets him out of there. Let the other guys play. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Let's see, War Eagle to you as well, Thomas. ASU is not that bad. So when I read up on them, a couple takeaways. Offensive line, all returning, which will be good for our defensive line to have a veteran group, well, to some degree, a veteran group to go up against, and we'll call it experienced group to go up against, that they're not just having some freshmen go out there and be able to push them around. I think that's a good thing for the defensive line, which continues to need to build this confidence. It's going to be really key. A little preview for Penn State, for Penn State. I think that'll be a good test for them. It's probably only area, honestly, where I see there being a decent quality test for Auburn. The quarterback was the SWAC player of the year, I believe, if I remember correctly, or newcomer of the year. So obviously highly talented. How talented is the question, and will he be talented enough to make a dent against Auburn? Maybe. Not enough, though. Shivers will have a big day this Saturday. I hope so. If there's a guy that deserves time on Saturday, it's Sean Shivers. If Sean Shivers is not the leading rusher against Alabama State, I will be upset, because the guy is going to be the yes man the entire season, taking a back seat, quote unquote, to Tank, even though they have two different roles. He deserves his time to shine. Let's get the man some yards and some touchdowns. Hope to see Shivers with 20-plus carries. Pretty good, pretty good. Player of the year. There you go. That's what I thought it was. A lot of rotation. The defense to get guys some playing time before PSU. So you will see a lot of playing time, but I think you're going to see a lot of players that you won't see the rest of the season. Now, I'm not saying that Demetrius Davis, the third string quarterback, is not going to play. Well, technically, it depends on who you talk to. Is not going to play, but I made the argument a couple of weeks ago, don't play him until you absolutely need to. There's no point. You got a solid backup. You got another backup, Grant Loy. Why waste him in a game like this in some of his eligibility? He has 4 games, I think, is what we had agreed on before he loses eligibility. Why waste it in this type of game? Put him in where it counts if you have to. Just my thinking on it. But when I say that you're going to see rotation in, you're going to see players that you don't get to see hardly ever. Further down, the 3s and the 4s and stuff like that. See a lot of those the future of Auburn athletics, really, as opposed to the current guard, so to speak. You'd rather see Hunter out there? I think you will see lots of them. I think you're going to see a lot of that guy. I think Jackson you'll see a lot of as well. They're both, if last week was any indication, you're going to get a lot of different running back time. But Sean Shivers, I think he deserves the shining light for at least a half, if not more. Because we know that we have a pretty good, reliable set of backs behind him. So if something were to happen, they would be serviceable. Now, Cam says that because of that 13 to 14 overtime, we shouldn't worry about him. I don't know how Miles College is. They could be the best of that league. I don't know. It's not Auburn. It's not the SEC, but Auburn said that about Jacksonville State a couple years ago, and look what almost happened. So I'm obviously kidding somewhat, but I'm not going to say that that's the reason we need to be worried about that. I think that Auburn themselves showed enough last week. There's no worry for this game whatsoever. Hunter is a natural beast of a young man. He and Shiver should share the tote, and they will. You'll probably. Well, here's my guess. Guess right here. Tank Bigsby gets 2 series, probably scores a touchdown in 1. He's out, so that's probably mid to 3/4 of the first quarter. Okay. Sean Shivers runs the rest of the half, maybe a series after that, and then again you just give it to the rest of the guys. Maybe Jarquez starts getting some time in the first half too, or in the second quarter, really. But we'll see. That's just kind of my guess on it. I do think that Tank needs some rest, just not a lot of, just the right amount. You should see the last 8 minutes. I hope he sees the last whole quarter, personally. And of course, Tyler, I miss Cord Sandberg. Don't we all miss Cord Sandberg? The ageless wonder he was. He was nice to have around for some time. Yes, Auburn is ranked in one poll, right? I don't think we're ranked in the coaches. The AP, and depending on who you talk to, they'll say the AP is the only one that matters. Technically, neither of them matter until, well, neither of them matter in the grand scheme of things till the college football playoff picture comes out. But it's just fun to speculate and see it right now. I wasn't shocked that we got ranked. I was pleasantly surprised, though. Do I think Alabama State win is enough for us to get ranked in the other? I got to go see where we fall on that list because they give points for the other ones. I don't know. It really is probably dependent upon what the other teams do more than what we do this week. Just kind of thinking through it. Yes, I did see that Gus Bus got the win over Pitt. We talked about that last week. Good old Gus getting that win. Let's see. Alabama A&M won the SWAC. ASU was a good game. Yeah, I heard that was how it went down last week. This game is on the SEC Network, not the SEC Network Plus, which is great for Alabama State because just for reasons they don't get to be on those big major cable channels a lot. So it's great for them and their fans. I'm excited to have Alabama State at Auburn. Again, an announcement. I will not be there this week. I've change of schedules and stuff like that, but it's just not going to happen this week. But you can watch it on the SEC Network. Big Simp series saying we're going to play Bam in the first round of the playoffs. Heard it here first. Hey, I'm all for it. It's a bold statement, a little bit more than I'm willing to make, but hey, it's possible. Ed Orgeron is probably a lot more likely to happen than that. Poor Ed. It seems like he's lost the favor of the LSU fan base so quickly, just like Gene did for us in 2012. My hope for Ed is that they were a lot more wise than we were at the time. Now, that being said, there were other circumstances around that firing that make it harder to make that case for Gene. But my hope is that Ed Orgeron stays around. A, because I don't think he can sustain a long-term success pattern like he saw with Joe Burrow, because that's good for us, because it's just a one-off thing. But I like Ed Orgeron. I mean, I think the SEC needs some characters. Gone are the days of Steve Spurrier, of Les Miles, of Will Muschamp. I think you need Ed Orgeron. Now you've got Lane Kiffin. You've even got, what's his name? Mississippi State guy. Probably won't last long either, but anyway. What do the ASU quarterback and wide receivers look like? I don't know about the wide receivers. Quarterback-wise, newcomer of the year last year looks pretty good. Number 25 in the AP, number 26 in the other one. So if there's one loss in the kind of the top 20, will probably be in there. Mike Leach, that's who it was. Thank you. I remember that. Corey, what's going on, man? Good to see you. I think Auburn will do great, but can't help but think we ultimately lose in the national championship to the mighty Kansas Jayhawks. Now we're stepping out really far here. My top 4 after week 1. I mean, it's just that's such a loaded question, because like the easy answer is just to go with Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, even though they struggled. I don't put Georgia in there simply because of what happened in that game, and obviously not Clemson. So I don't really know you put in that 4th spot, but my answer is kind of boring. It's just week 1. It's hard to tell anything different. JT Daniels being hurt. I have heard the rumors. I don't have anything to substantiate that. Did you hear about Montana beating number 20 Washington? I did. That was interesting. Not shocking, but interesting. All right. Well, guys, I know this was a little bit shorter tonight, and I normally stay on here a little bit longer, but I do have, unfortunately, some things I do have to attend to tonight. And this is one of those ones where we're only going to be on here for a little while anyway to discuss it. But I do appreciate you all hanging out. Hope that you'll stay tuned this weekend, even though I won't be on campus. We will do some stuff here for you guys to tide you over. Maybe almost like it was an away week, since I don't really travel with the team or anything like that. We'll do some stuff similar to that, and I hope that you're excited about that. On your way out, please do make sure you smash the like button. Check out some of the links in the description for ways to help support the content that we do here, and check out some of the videos other than the live streams that we've done. You can also become a channel member, link in the top. Thank you to many of our channel members already, our Booster Club members. All that stuff's in the description. And until we talk to you guys again, War Eagle, let's go.